Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is October 10th, 2022. Today is Monday. I am Sally Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful, wonderful day. And we're going to get things started here in just a moment. I'm going to listen to some music and jam a little bit. Hello, Frankie. Welcome. Hope you had a great weekend. And to anyone joining us over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Twitch, and what other places people usually get their streaming. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and thank you for joining us. Much appreciated. The only crazy lady has joined us. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Oh, you called me young lady. Thank you. That was a compliment. Oh, boy. All right, I'm going to stop it here. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So we've been talking about, hey, Minnesota, welcome. So, we've been talking a lot. Well, not a lot, but last couple of weeks we've been talking about family and family, duty and, what you would do for your family, blah, blah, blah. So today I want to talk about family business within the family. And what I mean by that is if you're married, hey Shelby, welcome. If you're married and you have, say your mom calls, your father, brother, sister call, whatever, and you have to, go over to their house to attend to something. And it's family business. Hey, Grit, welcome. And it's family business. I signed up for it online. Hey, pretty good, crazy lady. Very good, very good. And you go over to your sister's house, or you go see your parents, whatever, and there's something going on within the family. Welcome, Lisa. There's something going on within the family. Are you, and this is where my questions come in. Should spouses and children step back when things come up within a parent or spouse's family? Are some things just within their family and not your business? So, you hear of stories where, a mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, whomever, someone's is in the hospital or at home, whatever, and they're passing away. And they say the family was at their side. There are some cases where the family may not include your husband, may not include your wife, may not include your children. It's just the family. So is there yes, feelings may be hurt, but if it's family business, and again, I say within the family, should a spouse and children take a step back? Kruspa, welcome. So those are are my questions today. Okay, and Crazy Lady said yes. And then you said depending on the structure of said family. Okay, all right. Um, because um, every family, this is just my own opinion. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just my own opinion. Every family has a um, has their own business. I mean, your family was a family before you got married. Your family was a family before you had children. Whether your family is dysfunctional or whether it's the best family ever, everyone still has their family business. And I personally think that if something is going on within my family and it's not, you know, it's family business, it's not my husband's business. It's not my son's business. And at the same time, I don't think that if anything is going on within my husband's family, that is my business. If they're doing things and talking about things or whatever, there are times when my mother-in-law calls my husband, he gets up and he goes and he shuts the door. Not my business. I don't get offended. I don't ask him what they were talking about. Not my business. If he wanted me to know, he would tell me, or he would have stayed um, um, in the room. I don't get offended over stuff like that. Again, not my business. So let's see. Okay, Shelby, you're still confused on the question. Okay, what I mean is, if your husband said to you, "I need to go see my mom," talking about his mom, and he leaves, and he's gone, whatever. He comes back, and he doesn't share with you what went on, doesn't share with you what the conversation is, and casually ask, say, hey, is your mom okay? And he says, yes, and he just leaves it at that. He doesn't go into detail, but you want to know what they were talking about, so you're asking him, and he, in a roundabout way, or he just comes right out and says it was family business. It's not your concern. Would you be upset? Would you be pissed? Would you understand? That's what I mean by, is there family business that's just within the family? Okay, so Crazy Lady, are you saying nope, that there is not family business that's within the family, or nope, you would not be upset? Okay, Shelby, you say you would be upset. Okay, and then that's where I say why. And again, I say they were family before you came along. So let's say there's someone in the family who is in and out of jail. Okay, but it's not affecting you. It's not affecting your family. But it's their family business that they're dealing with, and they want to keep it just within their family. Should you step back? And Crazy Lady says, I wouldn't be offended. I wouldn't be offended either, because there are times when, okay, so Shelby says, when I marry him, I marry his family too, but only his parents. And see, that's where I disagree too, because I didn't marry the family. I married my husband. I didn't marry his brother. I didn't marry his mother, his father. I married him. And I think, and for me personally, when you incorporate all of that, you leave yourself open, and things can get, that's when you get into the weeds. And, it's like, I did not marry you. I married him. So, Crucible, welcome.
Hello, Solid. How's everybody today? Yeah, I want to pick just a tiny nit with the last thing you said. I understand what you're saying. You're marrying an individual, but people always say, and people say a lot of things, so take it with a grain of salt. You're marrying the family, and in a sense, in a legal sense, you're not. but they're coming along with the package, and they have to be dealt with, and that has to be negotiated and navigated. But to your original question, I don't really. This seems very cut and dried to me. I don't really differentiate between family, friends, acquaintances. I don't stick my nose into anybody's business unless it's invited. I think it's presumptuous. I think it's a little bit arrogant. I think it can be rude, particularly with family, but with anybody really, unless you're invited into that conversation and ask what your opinion is, I think you should just steer clear. That's how I was raised. I think it's a more respectful way to go. When people do listen to you, they may attach more credibility to what you have to say because you didn't force your views or your advice on them. So it seems pretty simple to me. Do not get into anybody's business unless you're invited.
Okay. All right. Crazy lady.
Um, yeah, like,
Okay, you are faint, crazy lady.
okay, hold on.
Well, that's better.
All right. um, you see, like, cause there's some stuff that could be not the spouse's business. When it comes to like the other family, like you know, it could be a number of things that really does pertain. I'm the same way you are. It's like unless it pertains to me, it's really none of my business. You know,
So,
I mean,
okay, so what do you say to
how?
Shelby when Shelby says, when I married him, I married his family too? And when she says, but only his parents. And then Shelby says, right, my husband always includes me.
Yeah, see, mine does too. And his parents loved me, and his brothers loved me. And like after Ross goes, they said they promised like I can still be part of their family. So you know, but I mean, I've been married. I had one husband that I mean, it was like family is family, and yeah, he didn't get included in any decisions having to do with like my dad's family structure unit. I think it all depends on the family.
Okay, all right. Grid, welcome.
Hey, Solid. Hey, everyone.
Good, good.
Is my audio okay?
Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I would agree with you, Solid. But if I had to, like, let's say my wife had a family problem or an issue within her family, and it required, let's say, like money. They needed some money from me and my wife, and she wouldn't tell me what the problem was within her family. That's where I would have a problem with it. And I would want to know because then it's affecting me as well. So that's probably where I would have an issue if they didn't want to tell me what's going on.
Well, that no, on that note, I would agree. When you start saying, well, I need some money, and if it's going to come out of, both of your accounts, or unless then yeah, I would want to know. But let me ask this, Greg. What if your wife had her own account, and she was giving some money to her sister or her mother or whatever? Would you ask then what it was for, if it was coming out of her own account?
Yes, I would because both of our incomes support our household. So, in my opinion, it's still affecting our household. So I would ask why.
Okay, all right, all right. And then Shelby says, not if it was her own account. And Shelby, I feel the same way. If it was my husband's account, and he spends money or gives money to help his family, whatever, that has nothing to do with me. So, Shy Lady, a formal welcome to you. So, Crucible, going back to what you said, every so often I'll turn on the Waltons, and you know, everybody's in everybody's business. The Waltons, if they get a girlfriend, they get a boyfriend or whatever. Everybody's in everybody's business. Um, and I do believe that it is depending upon the family structure, and you do have those families that say, you know, um, well, we're a close knit family, we're a close knit family, but some families are too close. Some families are too close where they know what's going on between you and your husband, everything, because your husband or your wife keeps telling them and keeps them informed. They know how much you all have. Why? Because that person, tells them whatever. Um, if someone told me, if you marry me, you're marrying my family, that is when that's a red flag for me. And that's when I would have to say, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work. And I would walk away. Um, Even if I was totally head over heels in love with this person, whatever, I would walk away, because in the end, I think that it would cause problems within my marriage, and possibly, when we have kids or have a family, whatever. And that's a headache that I don't need. I don't want to marry your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your aunt, your uncle. I don't want to marry them. I'm marrying you. So, Crucible, you want to comment on that, or?
Yeah, I think when it comes to your in-laws or your married family, your extended family, what do you want to call it? It's a little bit different than when you have your own family, but I'm not naive. I'm very close with my family, and I think it started when my mother was alive. We were all very close to her, and we would go to her, not necessarily for gossip, but she knew everything that was going on with everybody's lives and their families and their kids and whatnot. And it kind of germinated from there. Even after she passed away, we kind of kept with that habit of we talk about each other. We know what's going on in each other's business, not in a malicious way, but you'd have to be naive to think that when you're not in the room, that your name doesn't come up occasionally, especially if you're having some difficulties or some things that draw, quote unquote, gossip. But when it comes to things like money and stuff like that, I mean, that's a very tricky one. I know most couples have household income and they have their own accounts for their own personal, private things. But I think Grid makes a good point. You have to be respectful of your spouse to say, we have an issue in the family. It requires money. You can take it out of your account if you want to, or we can do it mutually. But I think money issues have got to be discussed, pretty much in the open. But that whole thing you bring up about the Waltons and people knowing each other's business, that can be healthy in some ways, because I think it's helpful if your siblings, if they're the right siblings or the right family members who kind of have some insight into what you're going through in your life. Maybe they can help, maybe they can be supportive. You can't live in a silo. You can say, well, I don't want to share these things, but they're being shared already. People are genuinely nosy. I'm nosy. You can call it curious if you want to, but we're all nosy on some level. Some of us are more developed, if that's the right word, in that area, in that we're nosier than others, but we all have that genuine curiosity as far as what's going on behind that curtain. And I think you have to be kind of judicious in terms of sharing it. But you're right. Some families are very comfortable sharing that stuff, and others are very tight-lipped. It just depends on the family unit.
Okay, so Crucible, I'm about to call you out, because prior to what you just said, you did say that it was none of your business.
Well, it doesn't mean I wouldn't hold my tongue. I'm just saying you're curious. We're all naturally curious people. We have sometimes a prurient, interest in other people's lives, bordering on, we watch the, TMZ, or we watch whatever those programs used to be, where you have these kind of sensationalist things where people want to know what's going on in celebrities' lives, or they want to know what's going on in their neighbors' lives. The Mrs. Kravitz thing back from the Bewitched show. I mean, we are all curious. It depends on where we draw those lines in terms of respecting the other people. But if you don't think I ask my siblings what's going on with so and so and so and so, and they don't ask their siblings what's going on with Crucible, you're being naive. It just kind of depends on how that conversation goes. But I think we're all out there as fair game. It's just to what degree it gets taken to.
I don't know. I think it depends upon the family structure, because again, when you start getting personal, when you start getting personal into another, into your brother and sister-in-law, or sister or brother-in-law's life, whatever, or your children's lives, and like I said, they know what's going on because your husband tells them everything, because they're close. I mean, I had a friend I had a friend who her husband would literally, complain to his father when they were not having sex because she was on her period. And his father was giving him advice. Well, son, when your mother, I mean, it's like that's too much. And I personally don't want to know the personal, you know, going on in someone else's marriage because it's none of my business. So that's what I come to when there's something that goes on within the family and your wife or whatever, goes off and says, I need to be with my family. There's a couple things going on that we need to deal with within the family. If she wanted you to know, she would tell you. If he wanted you to know, he would tell you. If it's not anything that's going to affect your family when she gets back, it's not going to affect you financially or socially or whatever. It's just within their family, and this may be something they've been dealing with for years and years and years. Again, like I said, they were a family before they even thought of you or you even met, whatever. So, at what point do you need to step back? Grit, Crucible, anybody? Anybody listening to me?
Well, I think you always have to step back. I mean, I'm just one of those people, and it sounds like you are too, and a lot of the people chatting are. You err on the side of caution. You certainly can say I'm available if there's anything you want to talk about. You can be vague about it, but I think I think you need to be invited into those conversations. It depends on who they're with and whatnot. But family, I guess as I'm repeating myself, I apologize. Your family is one thing, but when you get into extended families, like you say, you marry the husband, you marry the wife. The others are going to be much more judgmental about you. Some of them may welcome you with open arms. The others may be a little more circumspect, and it may take them a little while to warm up to you. So everybody has to feel each other out, and at some point you'll find the relationship that maybe you can share things. But generally speaking, your in-laws or your extended family are going to be a little bit more with their arms crossed, making up their mind about you, as opposed to the person that you married. So I would just always err on the side of caution, and then people may feel more comfortable drawing you in on things because now they think they can trust you.
Okay. All right. Shy lady, welcome.
Hello, welcome everyone. Anyway, I wanted to make a comment and say that I think, as far as marriage and family matters and all that, I think sometimes if you're in a situation or if you have a family member in a situation where they may be in a relationship that's abusive, then I think that it's good for a family member to step in and try to intervene or rescue that person who is experiencing like domestic abuse. So I think in that situation is kind of necessary because I know people who were in those situations, and if it weren't for family, it might have been a worse situation.
Now, wait, are you saying family, their family? Or are you saying like if their husband's family or something like that? So what family are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring to a situation where a woman is married and her husband is physically abusing her or
Okay.
financially abusing, and her family steps in and helps to get her out of that situation. I'm saying in
Okay.
that instance, I think family should step in and do what they need to do instead of putting a you know a situation where they're saying, "Oh, that's not my business. I don't want to get into their business." Sometimes it's necessary to avoid situations. I think is necessary. So another thing I want to bring up is I live in a very integrated neighborhood. You might also have people like this in your neighborhood, but there's a family that are I think it's the word Sikh Indians, Sikh, and it's like three or four families that live in this house, and I can't help but think that everybody's in everyone's business, but that seems kind of to be a culture thing. But I think if you live in a household with, at least two or three families, people know more than what they probably need to know. But again, for some cultures it work, but I don't know if I could, be in a situation like that myself. But I just wanted to make a point of that.
Okay, and Charlie, you do bring up a good point. Maybe it's something like, Grit said, if it was a money issue, and you're saying if it's a domestic abuse issue, well, then yes. And culture does, play into it also. But Charlie, let me ask this, and this is for the entire panel, but let me read what Shelby said first. I have that problem with my sister-in-law. She has never liked me, and I am never included when it comes to her side of the family, her husband's brother. Okay, so, Charlie, what if someone within your family, when I say your family, mother, father, brother, sister, whatever, your family, um, let's say your sister was being abused by her husband, and it's something that you all have been dealing with for years, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you all just want to keep it within your family. Do you think that if your husband wanted to intervene or give his comment, whatever, do you think he has that right, considering that you're not being abused, it's your sister, and again, you all have been dealing with it as a family. You all have been supporting her as a family, and even what if your sister even said, "I don't want anyone to know," and this does happen with some people. They don't want things outside of the family. So do you think that your husband has a right to try to jump in, or if the situation was reversed with his family, do you think that you would have the right to say something if they wanted to keep it within the family? Shy lady.
Oh, I had to take it off mute.
Okay.
I think that I mean, actually had some situations like that in real life in my own family, and I never got involved with like anything going on his side. I've never got involved. Um, he never really got involved on my side. I might share some things that was going on with people I knew, but he never really actually got involved, express his concern or anything like that. But I tend to not say anything about whatever is going on his side of the family. I just kind of like keep my mouth shut, and his own siblings or whatever, they handle whatever is going on. I let them handle it. It's enough of them to handle it, and I don't really get involved. I might give my opinion about it, but it's like my opinion doesn't really matter because I'm kind of sort of an outsider, so to speak, when it comes to his siblings or whatever. So it kind of really doesn't matter about what I think from what I've gathered in the 30 years that I've been married. So yeah, but no, I would definitely not say anything unless it's affecting my family. If I think that well, they're asking for us money from us, then I'm gonna have to say something because then it affects my family.
Mm-hmm.
If you're asking for a certain amount of money from us, like okay, let's sit down and talk about this. So I would get involved in that sense, or a relative that said, "Hey, I need to stay with you for a few days. Let's talk about this. How long are you talking about?" You know what I'm saying? I've been in situations like that as well. How long
Mm-hmm.
are you talking about? And definitely been in a situation like that, and it wasn't pleasant. And needless to say, that relative didn't stay around very long because they just were abusive of the situation, and it's like you got to go.
Okay. All right. Now, Shelby
Mhm.
says, if it was my sister, my husband would jump in. See, Power Girl says, this is a good conversation. I think it is. Hey, Mike, welcome. See, okay, everyone, thank you for liking the show. So, I mean, because for me, if it's not my business, it's not my business. Um, you know, I I just believe that if things are supposed to be, especially if it's is said, I want to keep this within the family, and that's when I had a show a couple of months ago when I said, you know, if I said something, if I said something to Shy Lady in confidence, I would be pissed off if she told her husband. And uh I have changed um uh relationships with people who you say something to them in confidence. If you're not saying that you murdered someone, or you're doing something bad, or you know even as something is like you're going to kill yourself or something. If I could tell you something in confidence, it's not your husband's business. It's not the family's business. So do you all agree with that? Because and again, I can only come back to my own relationship. It's like my husband, his friends, and I have more friends than my husband does. I don't know, most women do, but you know when he's talking to his male friends and what have you, and he's on the phone and whatever, I don't want to know what they're talking about. I don't care. If he wanted to share, then he would share, and I would be offended if he asked me every time I got on the phone, who were you talking to? So again, at what point do people get into other people's family business too much? Let's see. Alpha says, my opinion on this subject: the person should mind their own until their spouse feels they need to be included. Don't cross boundaries, especially if you don't know all the facts. Good point. Good point. And Shy Lady says, totally agree. And Shelby says, friends are different from family, though. Yes, friends are different from family, but I am 100% with Shy Lady. And Shy Lady, we had that situation a couple of years ago where a family member claimed they needed to, that they were coming to California and they needed a place to stay. And this was a family member who's on the shady side. And, they wanted to stay with me. And first, I was like, well, how did you get my phone number? That was number one, because I sure didn't give it to him. And then I was like, well, if you're coming out here, you need a place to stay, then maybe you shouldn't come out here if you need a place to stay. So if you're going to come out here, maybe you should already have, that set up, because you cannot stay with us. And, he got pissed. And some of the other cousins and what have you, were calling me saying, that's not right, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, then you know what? You pay for their hotel, or you set them up in an apartment, and everything will be fine. Guess what? Crickets. No, nobody said anything. So I'm just one of those people who are just going to say, nope. So, and then Alpha says, not all family is blood related or not blood related. Alpha, if I say no, period. So, chirp. He's right, crickets. And Shelby says, what was wrong with them staying with that family? Because those family members they were coming out to Southern California. I have family that's in Northern California. These people were coming from down south, and they were coming to Southern California, for what, I don't know, didn't ask, whatever. But it's like, if you're coming and you need a place to stay, then you have a place to stay. When I travel, I have a place to stay. I know where I'm going to stay, and you have that set up beforehand. Don't come out here and say you need a place to stay. And I even went so far as even asking them, when they said that they were going to be leaving within 2 weeks, I said, well, how are you getting back home? And they said they're going to fly. I said, do you have reservations? They were like, yeah. I said, can I see the ticket? Well, what do you want to see the ticket for? Which told me they did not have a return flight, and they were going to possibly stay with me for extended. Nope, not going to happen. Crucible, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple of points. When you made the comment about, the hypothetical example of you tell Shy Lady something in confidence and then she tells her husband and you would be pissed. I understand that, but in reality, and this may not necessarily be germane to your question, but it is sort of related. You know, you have you have one kind of relationship with Shy Lady, and she has a different one with her husband. And I think it's naive, not necessarily on your part, but on our collective parts, that if we say things to our friends and that's not some at some point is even in the most innocuous way going to be shared with the spouse because they have a very close relationship. It doesn't mean they're talking bad about you. She may just say, you know, well, I was talking to Sala the other day, blah blah blah, and but I could understand you feeling betrayed, but I think we all have to kind of expect that those things are going to happen. But the other thing I wanted to mention real quick is, you know, we as individuals can choose to stay out of family business if we want to. But as we all know, some families are a little bit, unquote, noisier than others. They insist on public airings of grievances or issues, and they may even go so far as to say, you know, crucible. I'm having a disagreement with them. We're, you know, my husband and they drag you literally into it, or the peripheral is you can't hide from it. You know, it's in your face all the time, no matter how much you want to avoid it. Certain family members are going to insist that everybody know what's going on in their business for whatever reason. So that's a little bit of a different animal because you want to avoid it, but they're insisting that you be part of it. That's a tough one. I don't know what I would ask to be left out of it, but as we know, some people want what they want, and they're going to insist that you weigh in on it, and that's tough to avoid.
Okay, now you make good points. Shelby says you need to figure that out up first, and assuming you're talking about where you're going to stay. Gris says exactly why I never said anything to anyone. Frankie says not always. Not sure what not always you're referring to, Frankie. But Crucible, I would say this. I only say things to people if it's something in confidence. I know who I can say things in confidence to. I know the friends who I can say things in confidence to, and I know the friends who I just can't for whatever reason. I mean, I just know, not necessarily running back to their spouses, but running back to their coworkers, whatever. I mean, I just know certain people I just would not say anything to. But again, I disagree with you to say that I'm naive to think that that doesn't happen, because I personally, truly do not think that it does. And when people tell me something in confidence, you know, when they, especially if they say, you know, please don't say anything, whatever, I'm not telling my husband. It's none of his business. You know, if they're telling me that, you know, they're having, you know, if Shy Lady tells me, Shy Lady, not that you are, but you were used as an example, so I'm just saying this. If Shy Lady says, you know, I'm having you know, an issue with my husband, you know, whatever, I'm not going to tell my husband. I mean, first of all, what am I going to tell him for? I mean, what? Why? You know, so, and if she says, you know, don't say, that's, you know, she told me that in confidence, you know,
Well,
so
yeah, you
just
make a good
because,
point there. You
but
know, when
just
somebody says don't say anything, you have to keep silent.
right. And
That's a
just
different.
because, but I also want to make the point, just because you're married, and see, this is another thing that bugs me with married people, and maybe it's just the relationship that I have with my husband, whatever, but this bugs me with married people, that they feel that they have to go and tell their spouses everything that their friends say, you know, and like I said, I have distanced myself, or I have relationships that have changed because of that. And they're like, well, you know, hey, you know, you don't tell me this, or how come you didn't tell me? Because you go back and tell your husband, or you go back and you tell your daughter, or whatever. If I wanted them to know, I would have let them know. And I tell them up front. That is why you have a big mouth. So, Crucible, go ahead. Crucible.
No, I agree with you. I mean, when I'm not, I mean, I'm naive too sometimes, but I think when somebody says to you, please don't say anything, or I'm telling you this in confidence, that ratchets things up to a little bit of a higher level to me. People can say things all the time and they don't issue that caveat, well, you better not say anything, or please keep that to yourself, kind of a thing. If somebody says that to me, then there's a little bit more gravity, I guess, to what they're saying, and I'm a little bit more protective of that information. I think because of the nature of what they've brought me into their confidence. But yeah, I think when we say, why would I bring up that to my husband? Whatever, Shy Lady's having a problem with her husband, you wouldn't necessarily, quote unquote, run back to him and go, "You're never going to believe what I heard." It may come up when you're having dinner. You may come up when you're watching TV, and there may be something on TV about related to that subject. You go, "Oh, by the way, just don't tell anybody this," but and then you've now brought your husband or your wife into your confidence, and now they have a quote unquote secret that they know they shouldn't be telling somebody else, but if they tell the next person, but please don't share that somehow they're covered, and so on and so on, go down the line. We go, the next thing we know, everybody knows about it. But I told him not to say anything. Well, I've done the same thing, but you're right to feel betrayed, even though you tell somebody don't say anything, and they do. You should feel betrayed. I don't think that's overreacting at all.
Okay. Shy Lady wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, I want to make a comment and say that I think, I guess it depends on a person's relationship with their spouse. Me personally, I'm not the kind of person to tell, if someone tells me something in confidence, it stays between me and them. Even my children tell me things in confidence that they don't want me to share with their dad. And I think that's respectful. Why would I? If they wanted him to know, they'll tell him too.
Mm-hmm.
If they wanted him to know. And it's like, that's what they wanted to share with me. And it's got nothing to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I just never understood why people would want to tell something if someone told them in confidence. Why would they want to tell someone else? They like trusting you with that information. Again, like I said, just because you're my husband does not mean you have a right to know. Even we have the same child, does not mean you have the right to know what my child or our child shared with me in confidence. That just because you're their dad doesn't mean you need to know. If he, like I said, if he or she wanted you to know, they would have said it. So it stays with me. If they tell me something, or if my friend tells me something, it stays between me and them. Nobody else needs to know. And plus, I don't want you passing judgment on what somebody else did that told me. It's none of your business to pass judgment or whatever. It's between me and them. So I am a strong, strong believer in trust. And like I said, I don't even want my kids, if my kids share things amongst each other, if that's between them, that's between them. Then I don't need to know. I don't want to know. It's not my business, even though they're my kids I gave birth. But if it's between those siblings, then that's between them. It's none of my business. And so that's how I feel about that.
And Shy Lady, I will say this is one reason why you've been in my inner circle for over 35 years. This is one
Absolutely.
reason. This is
Absolutely.
one reason why we have a good relationship and we have remained friends. Just one of the reasons. Okay, so Grit, you wanted to make a comment or ask a question?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, like, if you have a friend that comes to you and says, "Hey, this person told me something in confidence, but I want to tell you, but please don't say anything." Do you stop that person and say, "Hey, I don't want to know, it was meant to be in confidence between you and that person," or do you say, "Okay, tell me, and I won't tell anyone"?
I can honestly say, and because has happened to me, I can honestly say that on a couple of occasions, when I found out that it was something like, you know, like like is it something bad, whatever, and they're and for the most part, according to them, it was like gossip. I'm like, well, you probably shouldn't tell me, but then they told me anyway. But there have been some occasions where they were like, well, it's something that they really don't want me to share, but I have to tell someone that I have told them, then don't tell me. But no, seriously, because I know you're not going to say anything. I'm like, no, then don't tell me. So that's an honest answer.
Okay, and then what if it's something that someone's told them in confidence, and it's like really bothering you, and it's affecting the way you think, or it's affecting your daily life. Like, then you need to get it off your chest, to get um, you know some advice on what to do, or is that a point?
But okay, but when you say that someone told you something that's affecting your daily life, is really bothering you, the only thing that I can think of that would affect your daily life or bother you is if it was something where they were hurting someone, or someone was being hurt, someone was killed. I mean, what could someone tell you that would bother you so much? I mean, grit.
Yeah, I mean, it's something. It's, I don't know, like something, um, like maybe something they did, and that they haven't been, they weren't called out about it, or they weren't caught out, um, and they were like kind of bragging about it, and it was wrong, and now this, and it's bothering you. You need to get it off your chest.
I don't know, because I'm just don't go away, Grit, because what B says to Shy Lady, I understand your thoughts, but what if it's about life and death, like suicide? If it was something like that, then yes. But if it's basically, I mean, again, you know, it would really have to be something to that point for me, for something like that to bother me, because I find that for some things, that when people want to pass it on, it's usually gossip. So, I mean, do you mean like if someone was going to get divorced or something like that? Or, I mean, again, it
Yeah.
depends
So
on what you're talking about.
yeah. So let's say maybe you are friends with your friends. You have a friend, a couple that you're friends with, both of them, and the one comes to you and says, "Hey, um, I've been seeing this other person. I really like them, but I just don't tell anyone." Now you're friends with both couples. Do you
No, I wouldn't.
keep that secret? Yeah.
Yes, I would keep it a secret, and no, I I would not tell. And if you're friends with both of them, I don't see how that person. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing. I don't see why that person would come to you in the first place if you're friends with both me and the husband, or me and the wife. So, but no, I wouldn't tell. Crucible, I see you. What would you like to say?
No, just real quick to Grid's point. A lot of times people they're not comfortable being the only person, or they think they're the only person who has this information, and they can't take the stress of it. They can't take the pressure. They need to share it with somebody. And the other subset of that is a lot of times people, when they're sharing secrets or things that they're not supposed to share, they think it creates a bond with that other person, and it creates a sense of intimacy. We have this shared thing that nobody else knows, so we're kind of, simpatico on this thing. Some people get off on that kind of on a surreptitious kind of only we know this thing. So people have different reasons for disclosing and not disclosing, but I thought it was a really good question on Grid's part. I don't know what I would do. I don't have a lot of discipline. I would probably say, give it to me. Tell me what you got. But to your point, you would be probably a little more, disciplined and say, no, that's probably not meant for my ears, and I don't want to hear it. That's an interesting question.
Okay. Shiley says, life death is different. If my kid told me something about a person they were dating and didn't want me to share it with anyone, then I wouldn't. And then B is saying back to Shy Lady, I get it. I mean, people tell people things for a reason. And that's when I say, for me personally, I know who I can tell things to. I know who I would never ever tell certain things to. Um, and there are some things I just keep to myself. But when you have a relationship, and there are, very few people who are in my life that I can go and really tell things to, because you just know who those people are. So I mean, there's just some people you just know. I'm not going to say anything to, because I mean, even if it's not, even a secret. I mean, even if you said, I'm going to wear, a red dress to the party Friday, they're on the phone saying, hey, Silas, where? I mean, it's like there's certain people you just don't say things to. Hey, Mr. B, welcome. You wanted to chime in.
Hey, yeah. I one of my kids couple months ago called CPS on us and everything, and she didn't want to talk about it at all. But I think sometimes it's important to share your thoughts because sometimes it can kind of eat you up sometimes.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to my original question with, at what point do you, as an outsider, into your spouses or even your children's lives? I mean, because they have their own circle of friends, but I'm just going to keep it within the spouse's family. At what point do you, as an outsider, have to come to grips with, at this particular moment, you're the outsider, your husband or wife, they're dealing with their own family stuff. Like I said, they were a family before you came along. At what point do you not get upset, not, get pissed off, whatever, and just realize that this is the way it is? There are going to be times when you don't need to know. Anybody?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
because I don't need to know everything. Or sometimes people vent. That's how I look at it. Sometimes I think sometimes it's people venting, like they don't mean it, but they're just venting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people use that kind of thing as a barometer for what kind of a relationship you have. They'll say, "Well, I can't tell you that because that person told me that in confidence." Well, what do you mean? Come on, we're not as good of friends as they are. I mean, so they tend to start judging your friendship or the quality of it based on what you will or will not share with them, and that can kind of get things sideways a little bit too. So people have different views on what you're trying to protect the confidence of the person who told you, yet you're turning around and putting pressure. Someone's putting pressure on this person to say, "Well, come on, you can tell me," and then you're just being unfair to the person who's been told something that they can't share. It just gets kind of weird depending on the individuals involved.
Okay, but Crucible, I'm talking about family now. So, um, you being a single man, um, would you get upset if something was going on within one of your sister or brothers, within their family, and you asked what was going on? You said, and they said, "Oh, it's a family matter, whatever." Would you accept the fact that it's a family matter between them, and at this particular point, you're not in that family?
Yes, I would. No, I would not be offended at all. No, I would not be. I would maybe feel like I could help and I would like them to ask me, but no, I would never get offended. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you have to know where the lines are drawn. And if people, like you said, if somebody wants if the Shy Lady's example was, your kids come to her and they'd say something and don't tell dad. If they wanted dad to know, they would tell dad. If they wanted me to be in their life, in their problem, in their situation, they would tell me. So I think that's a pretty straightforward one in my world.
Okay, all right. Grid, Shiley, did you all want to chime in on that question in terms of you being the outsider?
Well, I'll just say, like in my situation, my spouse has like family issues, and sometimes she'll come to me and tell me about it, and sometimes she keeps it to herself. And I mean, I don't get offended by it at all. Yeah, I feel if she wants me to know, she'll tell me. That's just how we are.
Okay, and that includes family, Grid.
Yeah. So that's talking about like her immediate family. She sometimes lets me in on what's going on, and sometimes she keeps it to herself.
Okay, all right, Shy Lady. I know you pretty much gave us your opinion at the beginning, but you want to add anything else?
Just that I really don't like getting involved with my in-laws' family business. I really don't want to have anything to do with their stuff. And they honestly, when stuff goes down, when when a family member dies, they don't ask me anything. So I'm like, cool,
Okay.
doesn't bother me.
Well, my last question before I wrap this up is honest answers. Everyone, I will tell you my answer first. A family member within your spouse's family passes away, or they're passing away. Um, they want you, while they're passing at the hospital or whatever, they want you there, or they don't. Let's say they don't want you there. They have the funeral. The funeral, they say, is for family only. Family meaning just that core family. You're not part of that core family. You're not mother, father, sister, brother. You are not them. Do you get offended? I will give you my answer. Absolutely not. So, B, would you be offended if were not included in that particular, transition or the funeral?
You say, would I be upset if I wasn't part of the funeral?
If you were not invited to the funeral, or you were not part of the transition. And transition, I mean, the person was like literally on their deathbed, and they were dying, and you were asked not to come. That this was only for family.
Oh, well, yeah, it would bother me, but I
Why?
wouldn't, because if I feel like I was close to them, then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm like, well, I guess I wasn't that close as I thought. So yeah, it'd be kind of offensive, but I won't let them know. I'm like, okay, everything's cool. Let it go, let it slide.
Okay.
So it
Cruise.
depends how close, because there are such thing as family friends. You
Yeah.
don't like friends, but you're so close, you're more like family. So
Okay. But I'm just mainly talking core family. If you were the spouse or whatever.
oh
Crucible. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. B. You want to say something else?
yeah, so you say if you just like a basic friend, that's it.
No,
Then
no, no. I'm not saying that you're a friend. I'm saying you are you're. This is why I'm saying your spouse, or your maybe you were dating somebody for years and years, but your spouse, your significant other, their family member is passing away, and you were pretty much told, you know, don't come, you're not invited. They have the funeral. Don't come, you're not invited. Are you offended? I'm not
oh
saying friends. I'm talking about this is
I see.
family. I'm back to
Oh
family.
yeah, yeah, heck yeah, because I'm part of the family now. Yeah, because that kind of almost happened to me a little bit because her dad passed away, and the family was kind of trying to be kind of rude and everything. I'm like, no, I'm here to support her, not y'all. So y'all wasn't. Listen, I'm like, y'all wasn't here when it was going on, but now you're here now. So
But what?
no.
Okay, but what if your wife told you? This is what I'm saying. Your wife is telling you to
Oh, if
stay
my
home.
wife said
Your
that, oh,
wife. Your wife.
we're gonna have some issues.
I mean, okay. Why?
That's just me.
Why?
Uh, because if you're there, you're supposed to be supporting each other all the way. So if you feel like,
Okay, but
wow,
wait. Okay, but if she is saying that you're not invited, then apparently she doesn't need your support, right?
right?
So
So that means she doesn't need your husband then.
okay, we're gonna have to disagree with on that one, and that's another
That's
show.
fine.
That's another show. Okay, Crucible.
I'm going to have to come down on Mr. B's side on this one. I mean, the chances of you not, unless you have an estranged relationship with with the person who's passing, you've been with that family through probably through thick and thin. Unless they've conducted their business like that all through the whole time you've been part of that family, and they've done family exclusive things only. If that were their pattern, then I wouldn't be offended. But if this came out of the blue and I had a good relationship with the person who was passing, and they just up and said, you know what, by the way, you're not only not invited to the wake, you're not invited to the funeral. Yes, would I get over it? Of course. But would I be put out a little bit? Yes. I'm not going to
Okay,
lie. I'd feel bad.
okay, Crucible. So, uh, okay, so Crucible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's totally lost my train of thought here. Okay. So, what if the person who was passing away only wanted family, only wanted core family. It was their wish.
Mm-hmm.
So are you still offended?
Again, I don't want to be too much gray area, but it would depend on my relationship with them. If I was very close to them, yes, I would feel bad why they wouldn't want someone who had a loving relationship with them throughout their life, why they wouldn't want me there. But ultimately, I would respect it. I'd have certainly some questions, but I would feel offended at first. Yes, I would.
Okay, Grid.
Yeah, I'm 100% with Crucible on that one as well. It depends on the relationship. But if we had a close relationship and they said, sorry, immediate family only, then, I would like to have thought I was part of the family, being with them so many years. But if that was their wish, I would leave it at that and move on.
Okay, Greg, what if your relationship um, was not necessarily good with this particular person that was passing? You only saw maybe once every 10 years, whatever. When you did see each other, it was like, yeah, whatever. Would you be offended then?
Probably not solid. Probably not. I mean, that would mean we didn't really have a close relationship, and I would then understand.
Okay. All right. And if your wife, and let's just say this was someone that you had a relationship with, but your wife, came and said, so and so's passing, they're really sick, whatever. Only family is going to the hospital, or this person passes away, and the family has decided that only, family, not including you, is going to be private for family only. Would you be offended?
Uh, Pretty much, yeah, yeah, I would, because then I would have thought that I was part of the family, and we had been through a lot together, and we had a close relationship. Then yeah, it would probably offend me a bit.
Okay. All right. And Shy Lady, I'm coming to you. But let me read Mr. B first. He says, blood over water. Is that what you are asking as well? I'm just asking a question, B. I'm just asking a question. Shy Lady?
Uh, I want to say that I would not be offended if they wanted to plan a funeral without me. It's cool, um, not offended. But
No,
what
I'm not saying planning.
Mhm.
I'm saying you're not invited to the funeral.
I wouldn't care, honestly.
Okay. All right.
But I do want to say this, and this was a real situation. Um, had an in-law on my husband's side that passed away um, maybe a year or so ago, and this is a like a very distant relative that is like maybe a fourth or fifth cousin that we have not seen in probably 20 years. I was offended that one of the members of that family asked for money for the funeral. So I was offended by that, and I was like, wow. And, I understand people can fall on hard times, but they felt obligated to ask because um, quote unquote family should help family. But I'm thinking like, haven't seen this person in 20 years. We don't even know who you are, but you ask for money. You know, that kind of like just blew me, for a loop. But um, I didn't raise a stink about it because I know people are sensitive, at the times of death, and so I just went along with it because my husband felt obligated to give. Although not that I was being stingy or anything, I just felt it was kind of like an audacity kind of thing. Like, how dare you? But that's just my 2 cents.
Shy Lady, I'm going to add my 2 cents to that because we don't have 4 cents. Because I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Um, let's see. Mr. B says, I get that. Minnesota says, I'm solid. I'm laughing because I know how you are. Honestly, I would not care if I wasn't invited. To the funeral. Okay, All right, I'm sorry. There are other things more important things for me to get upset over. If there's a funeral without me, then rest in peace. God, go with God, and that's it. So, guys, that is the show. Does anybody else want to say anything else before we wrap it up and shut it down for the afternoon? Going once, going twice.
No,
Crucible.
just really good show. I mean, always good to have these kind of moral dilemmas. When you think hypothetically about things, you don't really you think about them in the abstract, but then when it gets down to a practical example, and you kind of have to think through, what would I do in that situation? It's always good to remind yourself of where you come down on certain things when it comes to morality or loyalty or things like that. So good topic.
Okay, Grid, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say it was a great show, Solid, and it's good to be back. I've been missing in action for a bit, but I'll try and catch up again.
One thing, it's good to have you back, Grid. So thank you, and thanks for popping in Saturday also. All right,
Yeah.
so everyone, let's see. Mr. B says, I haven't talked to my side of the family in forever. I understand you want money now. I have not been in a funeral for so long. Okay, all right. So everyone, when I asked you guys last week what topics did you all want to hear, a lot of you all have been emailing me saying that you all want to talk about family. A lot of people have some interesting things to say about family. And someone texted me over the weekend asking me to do a show on marriage, and I have to get the correct name. It was marriage, relationship, and something else. I'm not sure. I think it was marriage and finances. I think that's what it was. So y'all been asking for these relationship and marriage and family shows. So I'll be, I'll be having more shows like that. So all right, everyone. So that's it. I hope to see you all tomorrow. And as usual, enjoy your day or evening wherever you are in the world. Go where the wind takes you. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye. And to Crazy Lady Crucible, Shy Lady, Mr. B, and Grid, thank you so much for popping on the panel. And D, Power Girl, Shelby, and Alpha, all you guys, Minnesota, Power Girl, thank you all. Thank you all for coming. I much appreciate it. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.